you believe something that doesn't have any factual basis, but you believe it, and you preach it, and you insist that other people have to accept it. So dogma is a type of belief that is not necessarily logical, but you insist that people have to accept it. So someone can say, oh, well, Krishna consciousness is all about dogma. What does that mean? And say, oh, well, you have to accept that Krishna is God, but there's no proof. So that's your dogma. So if you look in the 13th chapter, 5th verse, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Brahma Sutra Padaischaiva Hetumad Debir Vinishchitai. It says that the knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. And Prabhupada says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the supersoul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First he says, this is according to different stages. There's different sages. As far as the sages are concerned, besides himself, Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Sutra, is a great sage. And in the Vedanta Sutra, duality is perfectly explained. And Vyasadeva's father, Parasara, is also a great sage. And he writes in his books of religiosity, Aham Tvam Cha Tatanye. We, you, I, and the various other living entities are all transcendental, although in material bodies. Now we are fallen into the ways of the three modes of material nature according to our different karma. As such, some are on higher levels and some are on the lower level, lower nature. Some are in the lower nature. The higher and lower natures exist due to ignorance and are being manifested in an infinite number of living entities. But the Supersoul, which is infallible, is uncontaminated by the three qualities of nature and is transcendental. Similarly, in the original Vedas, a distinction between the soul, the supersoul, and the body is made, especially in the Katha Upanishad. There are many great sages who have explained this, and Parasara is considered principal among them. Well, anyway, what it's saying here is that the Vedas, especially the Vedanta Sutra, uses perfect reason and logic to present cause and effect. So this statement that all religion is dogma is not true, especially when we speak about the Vedas, because the Vedas use perfect reason and logic and scientific preciseness to explain the existence of Krishna. So now we're going to learn how to explain the existence of God without using any quotes from the scriptures, just using reason and logic. So these are the notes from last week. So we're going to go over these notes first, and then we're going to develop this much more. So can I have one? Okay, so let's read these notes now. You begin, let's see, you can begin, Shivani. Just read out loud.
Oh. Can you convince an atheist that God exists without quoting the Shastras, Vedic scriptures? It is possible by using only reason and logic. Should I continue?
Start all over again.
Oh, okay.
First of all, 7 ways to prove.
Oh. 7 ways to prove the atheist by logic and reason that God exists.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can you convince an atheist that God exists without quoting the Shastras or Vedic scriptures? It is possible by using only reason and logic. Since God is not visible to our eyes, how can a person surrender unto God and render devotional service unto Him? Empiricism. Empiricism is the theory that all knowledge is derived from sense experience, stimulated by the rise of experimental science. It is developed in the 17th and 18th century, expounded in particular by John Locke and George Berkeley and David Hume.
These were 3 English philosophers, and they developed the theory of empiricism. Empiricism means that all knowledge is derived from sense experience. Do we agree with that? What are the senses? What are the senses, Shai? Is that one of the senses?
Smelling, hearing, tasting.
Those are the objects of the senses. What are the senses? Those are the objects of the senses. What are the senses?
Eyes, ear, mouth, nose, and tongue.
Yes. Those are the 5 senses, right? So empiricism means this theory of empiricism, and it's a theory, it doesn't mean it's absolutely true, that you can only understand by using your senses or sense experience. Do we agree with this philosophy? Agastya, do we agree with this philosophy? No. What does our philosophy say? Okay, well, we said that there's 3 ways of knowing. No, that's not the 3 points. 3 ways of knowing things. It's called pramana. What are the 3 pramanas that we accept? See, here, the empiricists only accept 1 pramana, 1 type of evidence. What are the 3 types of evidence that we accept? We accept evidence by pratyaksha, which means? What? Yeah. That's what empiricism is. And then 2, number 1 is pratyaksha, number 2 is, yeah, go ahead, say it. Anumana, which means? Well, if you see smoke, what can you know? You see smoke, there should be fire, right? That's called anumana, inference. So number 1 is pratyaksha, number 2 is anumana. Pratyaksha is direct, and then 3rd is sabda, statements of perfect authorities. Okay? Those are 3 pramanas, ways to know, or evidence. So what does empiricism accept as evidence? Yeah, so it only accepts pratyaksha. And maybe some anumana, but that's it. Okay? So it's incomplete perception. Does everybody have these notes? Huh? You have the notes? You don't have the notes? Go get it from Prabhuji. So you have to, we're reading these notes right now and going over them. This was last week's lesson. So, can you convince an atheist that God exists without quoting the Shastras, the Vedic scriptures? It is possible. This should be, is it possible? I'm sorry, there's a mistake here. Is it possible by using only reason and logic? So correct your notes. You correct these notes from last year. It should be, is it possible? Is it possible by using only... Did you correct your notes there, Omar? You have this? Do you have this?
Last week's notes I had it here.
But there, I corrected them this morning. Whatever you have from last week, it's wrong. So correct that first line. It says, it is possible by using only... No, it should be, is it possible by using only reason and logic? Is it? Since God is visible to our eyes, how can a person surrender unto God and render devotional service? So there should be a question mark at the end of that question. Since God is not visible to our eyes, how can a person surrender unto God and render devotional service unto Him? So, is God visible to our eyes? Actually, yes. In the temple, we have the deity of Krishna, right? That's why there's a deity, so it can be visible to our eyes. Like, is Prabhupada present physically right now? No. But he's present in his deity. You're seeing the same Prabhupada that I saw when Prabhupada was present. He looked exactly like that. So the deity helps you to see God, or the representative of God, you see. That's why there are deities in temples. But if you go into a mosque, there are no deities. Huh? And if you go into a Baha'i temple, there are no deities. And if you go into a Sikh temple, there are no deities. No deities. But in Vaishnava temples, there are deities to help us see God. And we worship the deities, not as an idol, but as God Himself. Okay, so empiricism is the theory that all knowledge is derived from sense experience. So that means pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means? Okay, let them answer. What does pratyaksha mean? Yes. That means seeing with the eyes, hearing with the ears, smelling with the nose, touching with the hands, and tasting with the tongue. Let's say you see a little speck, and you're trying to figure out what it is. So, if you touch it, it sort of is like a little gooey. If you smell it, it doesn't smell so good. If you look at it, it's brown. And if you taste it, it tastes just like stool. So what do you think it is? Huh? Poop, right. Right, it is poop. So there's a saying, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and looks like a duck, what is it? A duck, right? So that's called pratyaksha, direct perception with the eyes or the ears or whatever. All right? And this theory of empiricism became very prominent in the 17th and 18th centuries. And it's still prominent today. People say seeing is believing. Do we accept that? No, because sometimes you see something, but it's different than what it looks like. Like Surpanaka presented herself in front of Lord Rama and Lakshman. And Putana presented herself in front of Yasoda Mai and Krishna. So, was Putana appearing the way she really is? No. Did Surpanaka appear the way she really is? No. Do movie stars that use a lot of makeup and plastic surgery appear the way they really are? No. No, not at all. They use plastic surgery, they use makeup and different things, and all of a sudden they look really nice, but they could be the most horrible person in the world. So seeing is not believing. What is the best way to see something? Yes, Advait. Huh? I don't understand. Say it louder. No. What is the best way to see? Yes, Sanskriti. Huh? What? Yeah, best way to see is by hearing bona fide Vedic knowledge from a bona fide guru. That's the best way to see. Because the bona fide guru will simply repeat correctly what Krishna has said. So, seeing is not believing, but the best way to see is by hearing from Krishna. So now, the next point here says, so let's just repeat this again. What are the three evidences, three pramanas that we accept? Omar, do you know one? What are the three pramanas? Pramanas means three types of evidence. One is, what is that called in Sanskrit? Well, hearing, yes, it means shravana, but when you hear bona fide Vedic knowledge, it's called sabda. S-A-B-D-A. S-A-B-D-H-A. What? Three evidences called pramanas. First, we can say sabda. What's another one? Yes. Pratyaksha, that's using your senses to see, hear. All right? And what's the third one? Huh? Third way of understanding or having proof or evidence. Third way. Huh? It begins with an A. Anumana. Yes. A-N-U-M-A-N-A. Anumana means inference. I-N-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. If you see smoke, then you can conclude that there must be fire. One day I was looking at the clouds and I thought there was a huge fire. because the clouds look like smoke. Is that true? No, there was no. That was one example where you see what you think is smoke, and you assume there's fire, but actually there was no smoke. It were just clouds. So in the Vedic tradition, now look at your notes now that you got printed out. Some more people just came, so we need some more notes. In the Vedic tradition, there is a way to determine the truth from falsity by using the triangle of verification. How many points does a triangle have? Yes, Pranay. Okay. What are the 3 points of the triangle of verification? Yes.
Krishna, Guru, and you?
No. Anybody else? Yes. Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu are the 3 points of the triangle of verification. So, Guru means the present Guru. Shastra means what Krishna has spoken originally, which is Bhagavad Gita. And Sadhu means the previous acharyas, or previous saints in the disciplic succession. So these are the 3 points of the triangle. A triangle has 3 points which can be connected by 3 lines to close the triangle. These 3 points are what Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Number 2, what the acharyas, previous saints in the disciplic succession coming from Krishna, have stated that validates what Krishna has spoken. Number 3, what the present gurus, Shiksha and Diksha, speak. If the present gurus repeat what Krishna and the acharyas have stated, then we can close the 3 points of the triangle. But if they say something that is contradictory to Vedic statements, then one cannot close the triangle and the statement is rejected. Then we spoke last week of the story of Bali Maharaj and Sukracharya. The story of Bali Maharaj and Sukracharya is an example where the triangle couldn't be closed because Sukracharya contradicted himself and the previous acharyas and Krishna's words. So, how did Sukracharya contradict himself? Yes, Sanskriti. What? I can't hear you. You're not speaking in the microphone. First,
Shukracharya told Bali Maharaj that all sacrifices should be done for Krishna, and then when Krishna actually came as Vamana avatar, then Shukracharya said, "Don't give him anything."
Right.
But then that's not what the Shastras and what Krishna said.
right. So Bali Maharaj couldn't close the triangle. So, for example, if you hear in the temple the 4 regulative principles. 4 means 8, though. 4 things you should do and 4 things you should not do. So, the 4 things you should not do is eat meat, fish, eggs, chickens, so forth. And you should not gamble or speculate. And you should not take intoxicants, including coffee and tea. And you should not engage in any relationships outside of marriage, any intimate relationships outside of marriage. So, if you go to school and you're having a class on good nutrition, and the teacher shows you the triangle, or it's not a triangle, it's called the pyramid. Yeah, the pyramid of nutrition. So what's at the top of the pyramid? Okay, can someone look this up on the internet? Yes? What? Cookies? On the top of the pyramid?
Like at the top of it.
Sweets?
Yeah, because it's like the smallest.
Okay. Then what else is in the pyramid, on the pyramid?
The bottom is vegetables and fruits.
Bottom, okay.
Yeah, it's grains. Then
Oil and sweets, yes.
What?
On the top is oils and sweets.
Oils? Did you say oils?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's very difficult to see.
Yeah, oils, fruits, sweets, fats.
Foods and drinks that are high in fat, sugar and salt. That's on the top of the pyramid.
Okay. What's next?
Fats, spreads and oils.
Yeah.
They have meat, poultry, fish, eggs, beans and nuts. Then below is milk, yogurt and cheese. Then they have wholemeal cereals, breads, potatoes, pasta and rice. Then the base is vegetable, salad and fruit. That's called food pyramid.
Okay, food pyramid. Do we accept what's on that food pyramid? Huh? What?
We don't accept the meat.
Just the meat?
And eggs. Isn't eggs counted as meat?
No. Okay, so can you close the triangle of verification on the food pyramid as presented in school and in your textbooks? Huh? No. Okay, so that's one example of how you cannot close the pyramid on the what's supposed to be recommended nutrition for all people in the United States. Okay, so next, let's say let's say someone comes to your school to explain how marijuana is legal and it has many medicinal benefits and that you can use it for its beneficial effects. Can we close the triangle of verification on that class that you're being subjected to or you're listening to? Huh? Huh? No. Not possible. Okay, so we see this triangle of verification is not only for spiritual matters, but it's for practical matters in life. So you can use it. And the information that you need to use it correctly are the 4 regulative principles. Right. Like I went to this nursery a couple weeks ago, and I was speaking to the man that owns it, and he said to me, "You know, I really like you." You know, he said, "Why don't you come with me tonight? We're going to go to the Mukilteo Casino, have a great time." So, can I close the triangle on his invitation? Why? What? Speak into the microphone. I can't hear what you're saying.
Guru, Shastra, and Krishna don't say that you have to go to casinos.
Well, what happens in a casino?
Gambling and there's
right.
gambling. You
So
might
you
lose
see,
all your
I couldn't close the casino, so I very politely told him, no, I can't go. I have something else to do. Right. So let's say you're at a birthday party, and they bring out a big birthday cake made in Safeway. Can you close the triangle of verification?
No. No.
Well, in this case, it's like this. You ask the person who's organizing the party, are there eggs in the cake? And the person says, I don't think so. Can you close the triangle of verification?
No, he said, I don't think so. He doesn't know for sure.
Right.
And plus it's bought from the store.
What?
Plus it's bought from the store.
Use the microphone. I can't hear you.
It's bought from the store, so.
It's bought from the store, and the person said, I don't think so, which means they don't know.
It happens in my school all the time.
So that means that there's a good chance, not only it's made by materialistic people, but the person doesn't want to didn't verify if there are eggs in it or not. So there's a principle that you follow. You ready? Write this down. Principle is, when in doubt, do the right thing. When in doubt, D-O-U-B-T, do the right thing. Okay, now, let's say you go to your friend's house and he shows you his father's gun. What? Can I what? Pause for a second. Okay, I'll take a pause. When in doubt, do the right thing. Now, example. You go to your friend's house and he's showing you his father's gun. And he's pointing it at you and he says, do you want to see how it works?
No.
Right. I mean, it sounds funny, but actually it's very sad. This has happened many times. In fact, it happens almost every month in the United States. He points the gun at you and he pulls the trigger to see how it works, and there's a real bullet in it and it kills you. It happens almost every month in the United States. Kids playing with their father's or mother's gun. They don't know. They don't know. So when in doubt, do the right thing. What's the right thing? Duck and run as fast as you can away from that house, away from that crazy kid.
You also seem to run zigzag.
And run zigzag, yeah. You know. In other words, when you're just like the person organizing the birthday party, you said, "Are there eggs in the cake?" So, well, I don't know. Well, when in doubt, what do? Do the right thing. What's the right thing?
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it, right? So, okay, let's say you go to a party and the person organizing the party says, we got a big surprise for everyone. And everyone says, oh, what is it? They said, we have medical marijuana for everyone today. Well, and you say, well, I don't take intoxication. Oh, no, this is medical marijuana. It's medicine. Okay, so that's like, let's say you have a bottle, and on the bottle there's a label, pure nectar.
Pure what?
Pure nectar. But actually what's in the bottle is poison. Right? So, would you believe the label?
No.
When in doubt? Yeah. So, you don't know for sure if there's pure nectar in the bottle. Do you? Just because the label says pure, just because Surpanaka looked like a beautiful woman, that means she was a beautiful woman?
No.
Just because Putana appeared as a beautiful goddess of fortune, does that mean that she was a goddess of fortune?
No.
No. So when in doubt, do the right thing, which means say no. There's two things you can say, yes or no. When in doubt, say no. That's the right thing. Okay, so Bali Maharaj said no. because actually he had no doubt, because he knew that his guru contradicted Shastra and previous acharyas. So he rejected him as a guru. Now, the next point here, if you look at your notes that we gave you, printed out, what is the minimum qualification of a disciple? If a disciple has been trained properly by the gurus, why do we say gurus instead of just guru? Huh? Yes? Diksha and Shiksha Guru. Yeah. Guru always means Diksha and Shiksha Gurus. If the disciple has been trained properly, he will be able to understand if the guru deviates. Bali Maharaj was a bona fide disciple because he was able to recognize when his guru deviated from Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, or Shastra, Sadhu. In spiritual knowledge, is spiritual knowledge learned by an academic process? Who knows what the academic process is? Just look at your notes. What is an academic process? Anybody? Yes, Pranay. Give him the microphone.
Academic knowledge is learned at school.
Yes.
And it is usually a theory-based, since one spends most time learning concepts and theories that are often speculative and that may or may not be true.
Like, for example, if you're learning Darwinism in school and teacher says, most probably human beings came from monkeys about 4 billion years ago. Is that true or false? When in doubt, do the right thing. We can't accept that statement. It's all speculation. Most probably, whenever they say most probably, or maybe, or if, or suppose that, or assume that, and all these statements, these are all called conditional statements. What's a conditional statement? No, a conditional statement means there's no factual basis to it. If I say, imagine that your grandfather was a monkey. That's a conditional statement. Is there any factual basis to it? No, it's nonsense. It's just a speculation. So, do you ever hear your friends speculate? Any examples? Anybody have an example of your friend? Yes?
My friend said the party.
He said,
The world was going to end.
When?
When I was in India at 2012.
When you were 12 years old?
No, in 2012.
2012. Wow.
Native Americans believed that it was the end of the world on this day in December, I think.
That was not native, yeah, it was Mayan Indians in South America. According to their calendar, the world was going to come to end.
The calendar ended on that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, there are people called the Seventh-day Adventists. You ever hear of the Seventh-day Adventists? That they are a religious minority in the United States. Yes.
About the ending world. So
I used to believe it. So what happened was that
You used to believe what?
I used to believe that the world was gonna end.
When?
Like when I was small. But
Well, when was it supposed to end?
like the December time, the Native American thing.
Okay, yeah.
So what happened was I was like searching up on internet, how is it gonna end? And then there was this website, it was like, there's gonna be this atomic bomb that is set, and it's gonna explode on like this time, this second, and then the whole world is gonna just like blast. And then it's like so like fantasy.
Yes. So, did the world end? No. So these are called end time theories. End time theories. And this is not new. Almost every year the world is supposed to end, according to some theory people have. Right. Seventh-day Adventists thought that the world was going to come to an end in 1849. So it's a religious minority in the United States. So all the Seventh-day Adventists at that time went to a mountain in Missouri, the state of Missouri, and they were waiting for the world to end. And it didn't come to an end. Then the Jehovah's Witnesses thought the world was going to come to an end in 1914. You ever hear of the Jehovah's Witnesses? Yeah. It's another religious minority in America. They all have these end time, every one of these religious minorities has an end time theory. So do we. When do we think the world as we know it will come to an end? At the end of Kali Yuga, right? How many years is that from now? How much? Yeah. There are 432,000 years in this period called Kali Yuga. And so if you say the world's going to come to an end in 427,000 years, how many years of Kali Yuga have gone by so far? 5,000, right? Krishna disappeared 5,000 years ago. That's when Kali Yuga began. So we have another 427,000 years. So if someone tells you, the world is going to come to an end in 2020 because of Trump, is that true? How do you know? How do you know it's not true? Huh? Yes. Yeah, the Shastra says the world's going to come to an end as we know it. That doesn't mean, we'll discuss this later, but it doesn't mean it's all completely destroyed. But the world as we know it will come to an end 427,000 years from now. So if someone said, oh, the world's going to come to an end in 2020 because Trump is going to start a war with North Korea. Is that true? No. You say. Well, it's not true for two reasons. One, because the Shastra says there's another 427,000 years to the end of Kali Yuga. And number two, we have discussed that man can only destroy what he has made. He cannot destroy what God has made. So what has man created? Buildings, right? Cars, yes. Computers, microphones, yeah. So man can only destroy what man has made. He cannot destroy what God has made because he hasn't made it. He hasn't made the earth, he hasn't made the sun, he hasn't made so many things, nature. In fact, it's interesting, when scientists talk, they say, even if there's an atomic war and all of humanity dies, the cockroaches will still live. Have you ever heard that? Look that up. It doesn't matter who said it. Just look. Cockroaches will survive an atomic bomb explosion. I don't know. I never cut cockroach's head off. But a worm will still live if you cut it in half. Then you'll end up with 2 worms. Or at least 1 worm. Huh? What does it say? Let's listen to this. Listen to this. What does it say?
It says cockroaches survive nuclear explosion.
There you go. I guess so. The scientists say so. But wait a minute. When in doubt, do the right thing.
They will inherit the earth.
They will inherit the earth?
Yes.
Oh. The Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth. And the scientists say the cockroaches will inherit the earth. Which one do you believe? No, you can believe the Bible. You can't. Okay. Huh? What does it mean? The meek shall inherit the earth. This is a phrase from Jesus' Sermon on the Mountain. This is one of the most famous speeches in the history of Western world. And in the Sermon on the Mountain, he made that statement that the meek shall inherit the earth, meaning that if you are a very humble person and you don't cause any trouble and you have full faith in God, then no matter what happens, somehow or other, God will protect you and you will survive. Now, this is a fact. Like, for example, there have been great and very nasty conquerors in the history of the world. Like Genghis Khan was a Mongolian. He conquered the entire Middle East and parts of Europe and different places. He came from Mongolia with a big army. And there was Alexander the Great. He conquered all of Europe and most of Europe and even parts of India, right? And then there was Hitler, and then there was Mao Zedong, and there's Stalin, and all these different people were conquerors. But still, the people survived, and especially the people who lived on farms and lived very simple life, So, and people who are very humble, they somehow or other survive better than people who are belligerent. You know what the word belligerent means? B-E-L-L-I-G-E-R-E-N-T. Belligerent. Huh? What? No. Belligerent. B-E-L-L-I-G-E-R-E-N-T. Belligerent. Belligerent means that they're always fighting. They're always looking for a fight. Belligerent. They're mean people. So if you're humble, and an example is given of the reeds and the oak tree. Who knows that story? It's a story by Aesop, one of Aesop's fables. The reeds and the oak tree. Reed is spelled R-E-E-D, and oak tree, O-A-K, tree. So there was once a hurricane, and the hurricane blew all the reeds down. Reeds are like tall grass, and they all fell down. And the oak tree started to laugh. Look how weak you guys are. Just because the wind is blowing, you're all been blown down. But me, I'm so strong. And he said, I can resist the wind. You know what an oak tree is? They're a huge tree, a very powerful tree. Oak wood is some of the strongest wood. It's one of the strongest woods on the earth. They make furniture out of oak trees, and they last for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. So the oak tree was very proud, and he was laughing at the reeds that were all blown down, and he said, I won't get knocked down by the wind, you know. So then the wind started blowing really hard, and the oak tree said, you can't blow me down, just like this. And then the wind started blowing harder and harder, and finally the oak tree was knocked down, and the roots went up. And after the wind stopped blowing, the reeds all came back up again. But the oak tree was down forever. So that's one of Aesop's fables. It's a story, that's a teaching story. What is that story trying to teach? The oak tree and the reeds. Yes, Sai.
No matter how big and how you can be, it's still fall down.
Yeah, there's a saying in English. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Write that down. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, we have the example of the oak tree and the reeds. The reeds were much smaller than the oak tree, and when the wind blew, they all went down. But when the wind stopped blowing, they all came back up again. They were not dead. But the oak tree, who was very proud and arrogant, he got knocked down completely, and he died. He couldn't come back up again. So the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So what does this mean exactly? Yes, Krishna too.
If they're proud, then they'll their pride will blow up or something.
You're pretty close. Yes. Is the answer
Means that if you're more proud, then when you fall or if you lose something, then it feels worse.
You will what?
It feels worse compared to if you were humble.
Yes. Yes. So the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The more one is puffed up with false pride and arrogant. What does arrogant mean? Arrogant. Huh? What? What does arrogant mean? Yes. Not humble and talking down to people. Oh, you're like the oak tree was talking down to the reeds. Oh, you guys are weak. I'm strong. Right? That means he's arrogant. He's very puffed up with false pride. Right? So now we learn belligerent, meaning violent and always fighting, and arrogant, meaning full of false pride and condescending, always talking down to people. Right? And we learned the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Man can only destroy what man has created, not what God has created. And what? End time theory. And when in doubt, do the right thing. Right? And all this comes from discussion of the triangle of verification. Right? And we also discussed the three pramanas, the three types of evidence. Okay, so we haven't really gotten to the real subject yet. So an academic process is the system that they use in schools. It's usually based on some theory, and you spend time learning concepts and theories that are often speculative, that may or may not be true. Spiritual knowledge is given by a bona fide guru who simply repeats what Krishna has spoken. He teaches his disciples that spiritual knowledge is attained by engagement in serving Krishna without any motive other than pleasing the Lord. The disciples should not expect a quid pro quo. What is a quid pro quo? This is a Latin term, but it's used in English all the time. Quid pro quo. Look in your notes. Look in the notes that were given to you. What is a quid pro quo? This is a Latin term that's used in English all the time. Look in the notes. A quid pro quo is a favor or advantage granted or expected in return for something. So, in other words, a quid pro quo, an example of it would be the following. Listen, Krishna. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. That's called a quid pro quo. Or, you do me a favor, I give you some money. That's called a quid pro quo. Not quite blackmail. You give something, you get something in return. Quid pro quo. You expect something in return. What? It's not really a trade. It's well, in one sense, it is a trade. I give you something, you give me something back. Okay, so he teaches his disciples that spiritual knowledge is attained by engagement in serving Krishna without any motive other than pleasing the Lord. The disciple should not expect a quid pro quo. What does that mean? The disciple should not expect a quid pro quo. Huh? You should not expect anything in return for what? For doing service to Krishna. Does that mean Krishna will never give you anything? No, but you should not expect anything. So, whenever you do get some blessing from Krishna, do you consider that you earned it because of the service you did? No, it's just Krishna's mercy. So knowledge is something that you learn. Okay. But spiritual knowledge is different. Spiritual knowledge is something that's revealed to us. Do you have any examples of people in the spiritual tradition that received revealed knowledge? Yes. Okay. We'll start with Pranay. Is that the answer? Microphone? Is that the answer? Who has the microphone? You have the microphone, Omar? Who has the microphone? Ooh, it's a mystery. We need Sherlock Holmes to find the microphone. Oh, here it is. Okay. Do you have an example of someone who received revealed knowledge as opposed to academic knowledge, which is something you learn?
Okay, so
no, that I don't know that. Is that a Chinese guy? No, okay.
An example of that is when Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes, that's one example.
Yeah, he was received knowledge after by Krishna when his father was trying to kill him.
Yeah, he received knowledge from the Shringadev.
Yeah.
It's Krishna's incarnation. Yes, Sanskrit. You have an example. Who? Dhruva Maharaj.
Vishnu came in front of him, then Vishnu touched him with the concha.
Yeah. And you have something to say also? Narada Muni. Yes, 3 examples of 3 kids that received revealed knowledge. Okay, we'll continue after the opening of deities. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we haven't really gotten to the real point of this that we're going to get to now.
never crying is candy eggs. And go. Yashomati Nandana Brajavarana Gara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Bharana Dana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vedana Amala Harina Amiya Vilasha Vipina Pura Ndara Navina Nagara Pura Shivadana Subhasa Rajajana Parana Surakulana Sana Nanda Godana Rakovala Madhavana Vanita Daswara Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tata Chara Gopi Vasadahara Rasika Kamoya Govinda Madhava Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara Bhakti Vinoda Shaya Yashomati Nandana Bhajavadana Gara Gokula Ranjana Gana Hare Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Goda Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Goda Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Parivrajakshaya Asotar Sadla Shishi and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Parivrajakshaya Asotar Sadla Shishi and His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Now, Prem Ti Kaur Shri Krishna Nam Chari Shri Hada Sakar Ki. Prem Ti Kaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Kadara Shri Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Govindana Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mayapur Dham Ki. जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई की, यमुना माई की, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, स्वामी भक्तवृंद की जय, हरे निताय गौर प्रणांति हरे बोल. All grace assembled devotees, all grace assembled devotees, all grace Shri Guru Govinda Shri Prabhupada ki.
Okay, so we're going to continue now. So knowledge is something that you learn. Now we'll look at these notes that you got. We're on the second page, the back side. Wisdom is how you use knowledge correctly in practical situations. And intelligence is the form direction of the Paramatma, plenary portion of the personality of Godhead in the heart. That means that intelligence, the ability to understand what is right and wrong, to discern what is the truth and what is falsity, is coming from Paramatma. Now, why would Paramatma give you good intelligence? Anybody know? Why Paramatma will give you good intelligence? Well, if you're a devotee, Krishna promises. He says, Te sam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. Bhagavad Gita 10:10. So now you know two verses Bhagavad Gita. One is 10:10 and the other is 15:15. What does 15:15 say? Advait Prabhu. That's microphone. Where's the microphone? Where's Sherlock Holmes to find the microphone? So what does 15:15 say? What does that mean, 15:15? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15. What does it say? Turn the microphone on.
It says, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto Mataspatar Gyanamapoharam Cha Vedasha Sarver Ehame Vedo Vedanta Krit Vedav Chaham. So that means that I am in everybody's heart and everybody remembers me. I'm the source of all knowledge. I'm seeing everybody's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I'm to be known, indeed I'm the compiler of Vedanta and
So the main point here in 15:15 is all knowledge and remembrance
comes from
and forgetfulness comes from Krishna, who's present in the heart as Paramatma. Okay? And in 10:10, anybody know 10:10? Advait. Just look at your notes. Sanskriti, look at the notes. Don't play with your nose. 10:10. What is 10:10? Yes, Prabhu, let him say.
Verse says, if you serve Krishna nicely, he will give you knowledge. He will reveal the knowledge to you. So knowledge is revealed to us by Krishna as the Paramatma in the heart of every living entity if we engage ourselves in practical service to the Lord.
Very good. Very, very good. Haribol. So 10:10, it's not Tintin. You know who Tintin is? Yeah. It's not Tintin, it's 10:10. Tintin is a dog. Is a, huh? Who was it? What is it?
It's a guy.
Oh, Tintin is a what? A guy. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So anyway, 10:10 is a verse. It's not a guy or a dog or anything. It's a verse, right? Chapter 10, verse 10. It says. Actually, what you read was not 10:10. It was 15:15. But that's okay. Krishna says that he will give you knowledge. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Yenamam upayanti te. That if you serve Krishna with love and devotion, and always think of Krishna, then Krishna will give you the knowledge by which you come to him. So we had the example of Narada Muni, we had the example of Prahlad Maharaj, we had the example of Dhruva Maharaj, and so many others. And you will be an example also. That if you serve Krishna nicely, following Guru's instructions, then you will also be given knowledge as a gift. You don't have to really study. You simply have to be serious about Krishna, practicing Krishna consciousness. What is Krishna consciousness? There's 9 principles of Krishna consciousness. Anybody know what those 9 principles are? Or one of them? You know one? You're doing it right now. What is this? What are we doing right now? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam.
Sevanam, Archanam, Vadanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam.
Very good. That means Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, repeating what you hear, Smaranam, Vishnu Smaranam, remembering what you heard and you repeated about Krishna. Padasevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Archanam, worshipping the Lord. Vandanam, praying to the Lord. Dasyam, becoming friends with the Lord. Sakyam, Dasyam, serving the Lord, I'm sorry. And Sakyam, becoming friends with the Lord. And then Atmanivedanam, surrendering everything to the Lord. So these are 9 principles of Krishna consciousness. So if you engage in any one or all of those things, or any number of those things, then Krishna will bless you with knowledge. Okay, so next, Krishna is saying, I'm in the heart of every living entity. And from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So next it says, the presence of Paramatma in everyone's heart is not very difficult to realize, even for the common man. The procedure is as follows. One can perceive one's self-identification and feel positively that he or she exists. He may not feel it very abruptly, but using a little intelligence, he can feel that he is not the body. He can feel that the hand, the leg, the head, the hair, and the limbs are all his bodily parts and parcels, but as such, the hand, the leg, the head, etc., cannot be identified with his self. So, if your hand gets cut off and you see it, what does that mean? Yes.
It's not you anymore.
The hand. Well, it wasn't you when it was connected to you. As long as you can see it, that means there's a difference between you and what you see. And if you can't see it, as long as you can feel it, that means there's a difference between you and what you feel. Because you're perceiving, either by touching or seeing or hearing. So that means that thing is separate from you. So is there a difference between your hand and you? Jai Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. Is there a difference between you and your hand? Yes. Is there a difference between you and your head? Do we have an example of someone whose head was cut off?
Yes.
But yet he didn't die?
A cockroach.
Oh, that.
No, a chicken. Chickens, they cut the chicken's head off, it still keeps running.
No, the chicken, it knacks on its head, but it didn't cut off the brain, it only cut off, like, I don't know what it did. It just cut off a certain part, so then the parents, owners had to feed it with eyedropper, because, like, her mouth was gone and everything. It was crazy.
But it still lived. Yeah.
So it died because they didn't get the eyedropper.
They forgot to feed it. Yeah. Yeah, so even if you cut your head off, Daksha had his head cut off by the disciples of Lord Shiva. Yeah, Ganesh also had his head cut off. Yeah. But see, Lord Shiva is the greatest surgeon in the world. What does that mean? What is a surgeon? Is it a type of fish?
No, it's like a doctor.
Yeah. So can the doctors, if you get your head cut off, can they put their head back on you now? But Lord Shiva knows how to do it. So he's the greatest surgeon. He's the greatest doctor who can... but he put the head of a donkey on Daksha. You know why? Oh, goat. I'm sorry, a goat. Yeah. Why? Say it out loud. Give the microphone.
Because Daksha insulted him. And
Insulted him, but it caused the death of his wife, Sati. She got so upset that her father was insulting her husband, Lord Shiva, that she didn't want to have any connection with the father, so she burned her own body, so she would lose all connection to her father and family. So, but then Shiva put the head of a goat on Daksha. And he also cut off Ganapati, his son's head, but then he put the head of an elephant on Ganapati. So, so that means that you're not your head either. And your heart, can the doctors cut your heart out and put another person's heart in place of it? Yes. So that means you're not your heart either. So you're not this body. right? Anything you see or perceive, it means you're not that thing, including your own hand, your own head, your own leg. There's a difference between the seer and the seen. So step number one, using logic to prove that God exists, is to understand that you are a person. Is there anyone here who believes they are not a person? Raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. That means you all believe you're a person? You don't believe you're a person? Oh, you believe you're a person. Okay.
I believe I'm a mammal.
A what?
A mammal.
A mammal? Where did you learn to believe that you're a mammal? Huh? Tell us where you learned that. What? Well, there's different types of mammals. What type of mammal are you? What? No, you're a human being. There's a difference between mammals and human beings. Human beings have an erect spinal column. What's an erect spinal column? Straight up and down. Yes, yes. You don't have a curved spinal column. You don't have a bent spinal column. You have an erect spinal column. That makes you a... What's one differentiation between mammals and human beings? Okay, so, and secondly, you have limited free will. Do the animals have limited free will? No, that's another difference between a mammal and a human being. Okay, so we're beginning this 7-point process of logic and reason to understand the existence of God. And the first 6 points do not use any quote from Shastra. So first point is seeing that you are a unique individual. Second point is you can see the difference between yourself and your body. You are the seer and the body is the seen. So if you see, for example, this column on the wall, just the fact that you perceive it, does that mean you're the same as that column or different? No, it means you're different because you're perceiving it. Okay? So that's step number 2. This is just logic. We're not quoting any verses from Bhagavad Gita. Right? Step number 3 is the process of perception. The instruments or organs of perception and the objects of perception are all supplied to us, or all given to us. Can you give an example to understand that? Krishna 2. Do you understand the question? Okay. Can you repeat the question? Why? Ah, okay, very good. At least you're telling the truth. That's a good quality. So listen carefully now. I'm going to ask you the question again. The process of perception, the organs of perception, or instruments of perception, and the objects of perception are all supplied to us, are all given to us. Is that true or false? Do you understand what the question is? What are the, let me ask you some questions. What are the instruments of perception? Well, you know it. You just were not hearing carefully previously. Anybody else can answer what the organs of perception are in the body? Eyes. Eyes, nose, ears, tongue, skin. Right? Those are the organs of perception. Perception means how you see things or how you understand things exist. Okay. What are the objects of perception? Those are the organs of perception. Now, what are the objects of perception? Krishna too, you know what the objects of perception are? No, the senses are the organs of perception. What are the objects of perception?
Like the head?
Well, yeah, you could say that. But any object, is this microphone an object?
Yeah.
Is it an object of perception? Yes. Is this building an object?
Yes.
Is a car an object?
Yes.
Are my glasses an object?
Yes.
So everything you see is an object of perception. Okay? And what is the process of perception? Now we know what the organs of perception are. We know what the objects of perception are. What is the process of perception? Yes, Prabhu. Microphone over here, over here. Very good.
To use the objects of perception with your...
No, we're talking about the process of perception. What is the process of perception? Process of perception means how you see, how you taste, how you hear, how you touch. So how does that happen exactly? There's a process. There's a connection between the... Okay, go ahead.
So basically we have organs of perception and objects, organs of perception given by Krishna to us. We have this body and 5 senses, and objects of perception, everything what is created in the material world and in spiritual world, Krishna's manifestation.
Okay,
process of perception is how we are doing this, using our intelligence and connecting it with superior intelligent person.
The process of perception is how your eye works, how your ear works, how your organs of taste work, how your organs of sense works, right? When you touch something, you can feel if it's cold or hot. When you see something, you can see its form. You can see light and shade. You can see shape and so forth. So that's called the process of perception. It's actually a very complicated thing. Don't play with the drum. It's a very complicated thing. And we're going to study how the eye works. You're going to be amazed how complicated an instrument the eye is. Like when you have a microscope, does it look like a complicated instrument? No? You have a microscope? You have what? Okay, but does it look simple or does it look complicated? It looks in the middle? It looks simple. Do you know how it works? Well, how come it magnifies what you're seeing? Yeah, the lenses. Now, how do the lenses magnify the image that you're seeing? Huh? There are knobs, yes. But do you understand the science of opticals? Yeah.
I think don't they put multiple lenses?
Yes.
And so then if you put multiple lenses, then the image gets it gets projected multiple times.
Why
kind
do
of.
you need lenses in a microphone?
Why do they need them?
Yeah.
In the
microscope. I thought microphone.
Microscope, yeah. Well, we will discuss this in depth, but you have convex and concave lenses. And concave, okay, we won't go into it now, but it's actually very complicated. And your eye is doing it all the time. You take it for granted. You say, oh, it just works. No, it doesn't just work. And there's a transmission of the image that you're seeing to the brain through the eye, and you're perceiving things like that. The whole thing is like a miracle, and it's very complicated. But yet it's happening automatically, right? And we take it for granted. So all these things are supplied to us: the process of perception, the objects of perception, and the instruments of perception. Just like when you go to school, they supply to you a computer, a blackboard, an eraser, chalk, lessons to learn, and microscopes, telescopes, all these things, right? To help you perceive more and learn. So all these things are supplied to us. So what does that mean? If it's all given to us and it's all maintained by who gives it to us, what does that mean about us? Are we independent or dependent? We're completely dependent. We're not controlling these things. Like, for example, let's say you're driving down the street and your car stops. It doesn't go anymore. Can you fix it on your own? No. You have to go to a mechanic, right? And the mechanic, he's been trained. Let's say you have a Toyota. He's been trained by the Toyota company how to fix the car. Is the mechanic independent? Not really. Are you independent? No. You completely depend on the Toyota company, on the way they made that car. And if you're going to repair it, you have to learn from them how to repair it. So we see the same thing with our senses, the process of perception, and the objects of perception. All these things are supplied to us. All these things are controlled by someone else. Who is that someone else? Krishna. And all the devatas that work for Krishna. Okay? So this is point number 3. This is all logic. We didn't use any shastra. Now, point 4 is the crucial point in this logical process. Let's say you're watching a golf tournament. Have you ever watched a golf tournament? No. Okay. Have you ever heard of Tiger Woods? Does he play baseball? What does he do? Golf, right? So now, Tiger Woods and everybody's competing with him, all the golf players, they're on the 18th hole. That's the last hole of the game. And Tiger Woods is leading by 1 point. And he's a really good golfer. And he hits the golf ball, and it goes right on the green. You know what the green is? It's where the hole is, the putt, where the ball has to go in. And then, it's a hole. It's the 18th hole. The average is 3. On 3 pucks, you have to get the hole into the hole, the ball into the hole. And Tiger Woods hits the first one, it goes on the green. Hits the second one, it just misses the hole. Hits the third one, it goes right into the hole. Now he's leading by 1 point, everybody else. So the next guy gets up. He has to get a birdie. You know what a birdie is? Huh? Is it 2? I think it's 1. If he knocks the ball in on 1 stroke, he will beat Tiger Woods, right? So, and it's very hard to get a birdie. Very few people can do it. A birdie means you did it once? On Xbox. That doesn't count. You were Xbox Tiger Woods. So, now Tiger Woods is really, he's thinking, it's impossible. He's not going to beat me. He has to get one one shot. It's like 1,000 feet from where you hit the ball to where the hole is. And it's a little hole like that, right? So the guy hits the ball. It goes on the green. It bounces 2-3 times, right? And then it rolls right toward the hole, and then it just misses it by a little bit. It goes like this. And everyone goes, ah! And the golfer goes, ah! And he throws the golf club down, right? So all that is a show of emotion, right? Ah! He throws it. Right. Does the golf ball show any emotion? No. Is there a difference between the golf ball and the golfer? What is the difference?
The golfer has organs of perception and the golf ball doesn't.
That's one difference. Any other difference? Yes. Yes, but how did you? What's the difference of consciousness between the golf ball and the golfer? I know, but what did the golfer? What emotion did he show? Huh? Dissatisfaction. Right? Did the golf ball feel dissatisfaction? No. If I hit someone, do they feel dissatisfied? Yes. If I hit the wall, does the wall express any dissatisfaction? So, this means something. What does it mean? Well, I mean, yeah, but there's something more important than that.
We have some consciousness.
Yes, you have consciousness. And the wall or the golf ball doesn't have consciousness. And it doesn't feel any dissatisfaction. The dissatisfaction is a major thing. When you're dissatisfied, you get frustrated. And the natural reaction is you want to do better. You want to do better. Right? So, but the ball, the wall, the carpet, none of these things feel dissatisfaction. They don't feel frustrated. Right? So that means that's pointing to the existence of a soul, something that's different than matter. Matter doesn't feel dissatisfaction. If I take that chair and I throw it out the window and it crashes down and breaks into 1,000 pieces, the chair doesn't express any dissatisfaction at all. Doesn't express anything. So this dissatisfaction shows that there's something different in the body of the human being. And if the human being is dead, does the dead body manifest any dissatisfaction? No. So is there a difference between the body and that thing that's being dissatisfied? No? Yes, there is, right? So now we can see there's something different in the body than matter. Although the body is made of matter, but there's something in it that when a person dies, it no longer manifests dissatisfaction. Huh? Well, we don't know exactly what it is, but we know it's different. Because now we have several things. One, we have what's called a person. But now, because of this point 4, dissatisfaction, we know the person is not the body. Because the body is just matter. It doesn't manifest dissatisfaction. There's something different now in the body that is conscious, that's the seer, that has intelligence and expresses dissatisfaction. Okay? That's point 4, and this is the pivotal point. Now we're moving very close to understanding there's a soul. an individual soul in the body. That's next point, 5. If we look carefully and think carefully, we see that nothing moves unless there's an intelligent person behind it. Like, for example, let's say you go to the hobby shop and you buy a model train set. Has anyone ever had a model train set? Do you know what a model train set is?
Yeah, I have one.
You do? Like, describe it to us.
It's like this train set that has these big wooden tracks, and then you turn that train thing on.
They're wooden tracks?
Yeah.
You sure?
Well, yeah, they make the tracks wood for the
Okay. Okay. And then, can you describe what happens?
It just goes around and around and on the rail.
Does it go by itself?
Yeah.
It does?
Turn it on.
What did you turn on?
The toy train.
Is it electric?
Yeah.
Okay, so you turn it on and you turn it off, right? So when you push a button, can you make it go backwards instead of forwards? No? Oh, well, that's the difference between the Indian toy train and the American toy train. It's electric. You can make it go forward, you can make it stop, and you can make it go backwards. Okay? If you go too fast, yeah. If you make it go too fast, especially if it's going on a roundabout, it can jump. It can go off the rails. Yeah, it can. If you make it, you're the conductor. If you make it go too fast, it can crash. Just like a real train. Have you ever heard of real trains crashing, going off the rails? You know why? Because the conductor makes a mistake and starts going faster than he's supposed to go, and then the train can go off the tracks. Because what's holding the train on the tracks? Huh? Yeah, actually nothing is holding it. It's just the weight of the train. Because if you look at the tracks and you look at the wheels of the train, is anything holding the wheel onto the track? Nothing. As long as the tracks are perfectly parallel and the speed of the train, especially when it's going on a turnabout, is not too fast, it'll stay on the tracks. If the tracks are not perfectly parallel, what does it mean, parallel? Yes? Yeah, but they're always the same distance apart, whether you're going on a turnaround or a straight, and if they make a mistake and the rails are not perfectly parallel, it's very easy for the train to go off, to derail. You see? And the other thing is the earth is always moving. So how do they guarantee that the rails are always parallel when the earth naturally moves because of earthquakes, because of landslides, because of too much rain? How do they make the rails always parallel? So you have trains going across the whole United States, going over mountains and the tunnels, and there are very few crashes. There are crashes, but very few. How do they make sure the rails are always parallel?
So intelligent people are working around the clock to ensure that.
Well, if you study how they make a railroad track, it's actually very, very complicated. They have to assure that the railroad tracks are always parallel and always at the same level, even though the earth is moving a lot. Right. So you see how we take all these things for granted, but they're actually very complicated. And you have hundreds of thousands of miles of railroad tracks in the United States. And India is worse. India has the biggest railroad system in the whole world. They have railroad tracks everywhere in India, right? Are there many crashes in India?
Yes.
Many? No, not that many. India has the best railroad system in the world, even though it's old. It's the best, and it goes to more places than any other railroad system. You know. That was because of the British, not because of the Indians. You know. Yeah. Anyway, anytime something moves, there's an intelligent person behind it. Do you accept that statement?
Yes.
Does your toy train move by itself?
Yeah.
It does? Like while you're sleeping and you turn it off, does it move by itself? Okay. So it only moves because you're making it move. Right? So therefore, this is point number 5. Objects only move when there is an intelligent person behind them. Okay, so let's say you're in a deep forest and the wind blows and knocks a tree down. Was there an intelligent person behind the tree falling? There was? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, yeah, but the materialists would say no. It just fell by itself because the wind blew it. But who's controlling the wind?
Krishna.
Okay, but we have to be more specific. Vayu is the demigod of the wind, right? Now, how does the wind move? How is the wind created? This is a very interesting subject.
Centrifugal and centripetal?
No. It's all because of the sun, because of differences of heat. It causes the movement of the air, right? So what? For example, there is no vacuum in this world. What does that mean? Who knows what a vacuum is? Agastya, what is a vacuum? What? A vacuum? No, that's not, no. The vacuum has different meanings. That's not the meaning we're looking for. What is a vacuum? Although what the vacuum does is related to the answer. What is a vacuum? No. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. That is, but see, English words have different meanings depending on the context. So ask me what the context is. The context is a closed, let's say, space in which all the air is taken out. That's called a vacuum. There's no air. So is there a vacuum in nature, naturally existing? No. There's no vacuum in nature. It's an artificial thing. No, it's not even a theory. It's an artificial thing. It's possible that if I get a glass jar, right, and it's hermetically closed, meaning there's no air that can go into it, and then I vacuum out, or I pull out all the air, that creates a vacuum. But the problem is, you can only artificially do it. In reality, it can never happen because it's impossible to keep the air out of any space in nature. So, due to the heat of the sun, heat and cold, it is possible to create places where the air becomes less dense, and that starts moving the air. That's the cause of wind. Okay, look it up. What is the cause of wind? Look it up on the internet. So if you understand this, you'll see that when the materialist says, "Oh, the wind's blowing by itself and knocked the tree over," there's no one behind it. It's not true.
Wind is caused by differences in atmospheric pressure. When a difference in atmospheric pressure exists, air moves from the higher to the lower pressure area, resulting in winds of various speeds. On a rotating planet, air will also be deflected by the Coriolis effect, except exactly on the equator.
Okay, so differences in pressure. So if I pull air out from some place, other air will go into it right away because there's no vacuum in nature. You You understand? As soon as some air is pulled out of a place, or the density of the air becomes less than normal, other air will go into it. And that's the cause of the wind. And that's being done by changes of temperature. Therefore, who's controlling the sun? Huh? Superior intelligent beings. His name is Vivaswan. Now, Prabhupada says that the potential of every human being is greater than the sun. What does he mean by that? How does he know that's a true statement? The potential of every human being, like you're a human being, Pranay is a human being. If I tell you, Pranay, that your potential is to be more powerful than the sun, would you believe it? You wouldn't believe it, right? But actually it's true. How do we know? Yes?
Because we have the spirit soul and Krishna is in that soul. So because of that we have that, and we are part of Krishna. If we realize our eternal position, that we are like Krishna is our Father and we can connect to it, then we have infinite power.
It's not the explanation. Although many of the things you said are true, but it's not the explanation. Do you know anybody who's controlling the sun?
Yes.
Who? Vivaswan. Is he a jiva like us?
Yes.
Yes. So that means that it's true that every one of us has the potential of becoming more powerful than the sun. The statement of Prabhupada is absolutely true. Although it seems impossible to us. Why does it seem impossible to us, Kishori? What? You were sitting right here. Oh, it's her fault that you didn't... What's more important, to know the answer to this question or to tell her what pencil you're using? Okay, I will repeat the question and we'll see if you can answer it. Okay? How does Prabhupada know that an individual like you or me can become more powerful than the sun? Okay, so that means you haven't been listening for a long time. Hare Krishna. Shishirada Nilmadava Ki Jai. That means you haven't been listening for a long time, because we discussed that 4 minutes ago. Okay, Sanskriti. Huh? Microphone?
Srila Prabhupada knows that everyone can be more powerful than the sun because we're all jivas and Vivaswan, who's controlling the sun, is also a jiva like us.
Yes, exactly right. You got that answer? Okay. So, if the wind blows a tree down, it didn't just happen without anyone behind it, without an intelligent person behind it. Vivaswan is controlling the sun, and because of the heat of the sun, sometimes it creates a temporary low pressure somewhere. And immediately, air goes to the low pressure, it creates wind, and things move. And who's doing that? Vivaswan, but Vivaswan is only acting under the orders of Krishna. So there's always an intelligent person whenever there's movement. This is point number 5. Point number 6. Now, if you understand this, you'll be able to convince any atheist, and there's millions of atheists, many more atheists than devotees, right? That means Kali Yuga is the best time to be a devotee. Why? You can be preaching all day long. If you were living in Satya Yuga, you would hardly have anyone to preach to because everybody was a devotee. If you want to be have fun as a devotee, Kali Yuga is the best time because everyone you meet almost is a demon or an atheist. So you can be preaching every day of your life. Right? So, point number 6. Point number 6 says, if there is an intelligent person behind everything that moves, well, I'm the intelligent person like Krishna too, making my train set move. Agastya, are you listening? What were you listening? What did I just say? What?
Like you were talking about Krishna.
Yes. So if Krishna too, who's an intelligent person, can make his train set move. Now the question is, who's making the planets move? Who's making my stomach digestion move? Huh? What is that? What science? Who established the science?
Can you give the microphone?
Well, even if they say that, who made the Big Bang? Because we just established that nothing moves without an intelligent person behind it. So you are an intelligent person. You're making your train move. Zzz, it's going forward. Then zzz, it stops. Then zzz, it goes backwards. Right? You're making that train move. Who's making the Earth revolve on its axis? Who's making the whole Earth revolve on its axis and revolve around the sun at the same time? Who's making the Earth revolving on its axis, revolving around the sun, and then the sun and the whole galaxy revolving around the solar axis of the universe? Who's doing all that? So we say Krishna, but you would say a superior intelligent person is doing this. Yes?
Big Bang. What were the two things that crashed on the Earth?
You're talking about the Big Bang? You want me to explain the Big Bang theory to you? Well, I'm not going to explain it. I'm going to debunk it. What does it mean to debunk a theory? No. Yes. To defeat it, to counteract it, right? To debunk. I'm going to debunk the Big Bang theory. If I make a Big Bang in your kitchen, will it create something or destroy something? But yet they're saying a Big Bang is the origin of creation. Does that make sense? Because, now write this down, the cause is in the effect. Write it down. The cause is in the effect. What does this mean? Sidhu. What? That's what I say. I say what? What was the question I asked? What did I ask you to write down? You're going to write it down on your hand or something, on the back of your hand? No. What did I ask you to write? You're sitting right here. Did you hear me speaking? You didn't hear me speaking? I was speaking in the microphone, just like this. How come you didn't hear anything? Huh? No, you have to say, I was doing nonsense. Yes, you were doing nonsense. Therefore, although I'm speaking out loud using the microphone, you don't even know what I asked. And if I called someone else's name out, you would have continued doing nonsense. It's only because I called your name out. You said, Sidhu, he's calling me. I better listen, you know. So please listen, okay? The class only lasts a little bit. The rest of the day you can do nonsense. When you come to the class, make a decision. For the short period that the class is taking place, I'm going to listen. After the class, I'm going to do nonsense the rest of the day. Well, that's not you. That's Sidhu, right? So no one is stopping Sidhu from doing nonsense. No one is stopping anyone from doing nonsense except in the class. And the class is it doesn't last that long. It lasts 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, that's all. Out of 24 hours in the day. But you didn't come right in the beginning. You came late. Yeah. Okay. All right, so this point 6 is the proof that there's a superior intelligence to all human beings in the universe. That points to the existence of a God. Now, what do the secular humanists say? The secular humanists are demons who say there's no God and there's no intelligent being in the universe. And they, secular humanists, Advait, can you leave Sidhu alone? Do you like to bother him when he's trying to listen? Yeah. Okay, well anyway, we'll stop here. We went over last week's lesson. Now, your homework. What? Anyone do homework from last? What? No, last week was not Soap Lake. You are. Last week was not Soap Lake. This is last week's class. You were not here. Yeah. So what was the homework? Puja Mataji, you know what the homework was for last week? That nobody did?
He did the homework also.
No, I was going to do the homework, but I didn't have time. But okay, tell what's the homework.
What's the homework?